Hello, and welcome to the first video in my tutorial series on how to rig in Live2D. I hope you can learn a lot from me, and yeah, I will be using my own model art to show you how to rig, as it's something that I've already rigged up. I'm not necessarily looking to re-rig it, but for learning purposes, I am willing to torture myself. I am willing to use my model to help you learn. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. So to start off with, the way I like to do it is I like to set up a new model file. So I'm going to open up a new model file, and then I'm going to import my PSD. But before we import the PSD, we have to adjust the size of the canvas, because the canvas isn't scaled exactly to the size that your model would be. So for example, my canvas on my model is 4,500 by 9,000. So we're gonna adjust that. Click OK. And now it's adjusted to the size that it needs to be. And then we're gonna go to the file that your PSD is stored. So I have mine stored in my old VTube rigging file because I've already rigged this, as you can see. And we're gonna go ahead and click and drag that into here. We're going to apply it to the untitled model. We're not going to create a new model with the PSD file because we've already got a model file open. We're going to click OK. We're going to add all new layers as art mesh. Click OK. We're going to wait for that to load. So my setup might look a bit different than yours because I have it set up to where I can actually see what I'm doing. We are going to open up all of these folders by Control A, and now it's selected everything. And then one thing I did want to do was remove these layers. So we're going to go ahead and remove the background. And the reason why we did all this is we want to organize everything into these folders right here. Now, one way to organize everything into the folders is to go up all the way up to the top or all the way to the bottom. It depends on how you want to, where you want to start. And one way you can select everything is click on the top one, hit shift, and then click again on the bottom one, and it'll click and it will select everything. And another way is pressing Control and clicking each individual part. So what we're doing is organizing them into these folders instead of, for example, you clicking and dragging everything into the hair or wherever. We're going to use the part drop down menu right here. We're going to start at the top and we're going to organize everything into the corresponding parts. Now, as a side note, if you have parts that you're not quite sure where to put them, you can always make your own folders and put them in there. Just make sure that when you're doing the draw order that you're doing it the right way so that your parts are positioned where they need to be positioned. So with that said, let's get started. Okay, we got all of that done. So we're gonna go ahead and check, make sure that we grabbed everything. It looks like we did. I'm gonna go ahead and delete this file because we don't need it anymore. And you might be wondering, hey, there's where's our face? Good question. So we've still got to set the draw order of everything so that everything sits where it needs to sit. And the draw order is basically what, imagine if you have your layers lined up, you know, the layer on top is going to be the one that shows over the layer on the bottom. So we need to adjust the draw order so that all the layers that need to be on top are on top. So how I determine draw order is based off of what my needs are and based off of the folder that I put them in. Now, the only exceptions I make are for the nose and the eyeballs, because if I put them on the same layer as the mouth, mainly the nose, if I put them on the same draw order as the mouth is above it, so it's going to show above the nose when go to rig that to open up. So we don't want that. So I normally go to the nose and I set the draw order to 625. 625. And then I set the mouth to 600. 600. Right. And then since the eyes are on top, we can go ahead and set those to 600 without worrying about it. Add in 600. And then we just go through and make sure that our file draw order matches with the draw order of the objects inside of it. Okay, so we got the draw order of everything set. It still looks kind of freaky. You see the blush layer is clipping through and the shadow layer in the mouth is clipping through as well. In order to fix that, there are a couple methods. So one method is you can select everything that you want to clip down to a certain part, and you can hit this drop down menu. Go to clipping ID and you see this drop down menu. You can drop it down and then select the layer that you want to clip it to. Now that's the easiest for me, but another method you could use, you can go to head fill, you can find the ID here, which is head fill, and you can copy it, go into all the layers you want to clip down, and then paste it into clipping ID. If you are trying to clip objects, multiple objects to multiple objects, so let's say I want to clip all the blush layers to the head fill and head outline, there are a couple ways of doing that too. You can do the method I just showed you where you select all of them and you can go to the drop down menu. Since we already have head fill in there, we can just click on head outline as well and it will clip it down to the head outline. Or you can unselect all those. You can go to head fill, grab the ID for head fill, and then paste it into clipping ID. And then you want to go grab the ID for the head outline and you want to copy that. You want to go back to your objects. You want to put a colon there. And then you want to go ahead and put a space there, and then you want to paste the head outline present. That should clip them to. Now I don't need it clipped. And you can go ahead and do that for all the parts that need. Okay, so that's all done. The next step we want to do to set up is if you have any additive layers, they don't set automatically to additive mode, to the blend mode, so we have to set that manually. So we're going to go ahead and find all of the objects that are supposed to have additive applied to them, and we are going to apply the blend mode. So give me a second to find everything. Those. Okay. And then we can scroll down here, go to blend mode. You want to click additive. It's going to give us a little warning saying that it may not appear how it would appear on your art program, is essentially what it's saying. So just go ahead and double check that everything looks fine in Live2D first before you go ahead and import it and see that everything looks fine before you decide that that's the final product. We got that all set. Now the third to last step is applying art mesh to everything. Now you could go ahead and bulk apply using the auto and then just go work on custom meshes as you go. That is an option. You run into the risk of it glitching out and some of your textures disappear. I haven't figured out. I know there's a way to fix that. I just don't know how to fix that. I'm sorry. So to avoid that, we're gonna just go ahead and go one by one, and we're gonna click auto, and we're just gonna do standard mesh on everything. Usually, if you're gonna use the auto mesh generator, you would go based off of how much movement you want in a certain object, but since I'm going to be making custom meshes for some of the parts, we're just going to go ahead and set it to standard for now, unless I change my mind later. That's always a possibility, but we're just going to go ahead and set it to standard for now. So just go ahead and make your way down. And I will be back when I'm done. All right, we are back. We should have some sort of crazy abomination like this. We want to go ahead and double check that none of the textures or the meshes are broken, which it looks like we've got a bit of a broken mesh here. And to fix that, we're going to want to find the part where it's broken. So we can go into mesh edit, and we're just going to fill in the spots that are broken up. Auto connect. Check out the rest of the hair, make sure everything's here. Just click OK, and then your texture check. Looks like it's broken back here too, so I'm gonna fix that real quick. Okay, we've kind of half-heartedly fixed everything. You can always go deeper into detail with the mesh edit as you go along to make it easier to stay organized. That's usually how I do it. The next step we want to do is to set the texture atlas. So you want to make the texture atlas big enough to fit all of your textures in it. So since my model is fairly big, I'm going to do 8,000 by 8,000. We're going to set automatic layout. Okay. Okay, it should set the layout for you. Give it just a minute to load. Okay, so it finally loaded. We're going to make sure that none of the textures are overlapping. If any of the textures are overlapping, it might cause what looks like a glitching effect, where one texture is popping out of another. So if you have that happen to you, I would suggest going and double checking your texture atlas and however you need to make sure that nothing's popping through. It looks good here, so click OK, and it's going to generate. Now, one thing you want to do with the texture atlas, you want to use the smallest canvas that you could possibly need, because the bigger it is, the more computer power it's going to take, the longer it's going to take to load, and the longer it's going to take to generate that for you. So now that it's done generating, I think we're going to wrap it up and we are going to save our. So we want to first go to the desktop and we want to make a folder. You can name this whatever you want. I'm going to name it Mary Model Tutorial. And then we're going to double click, go inside of it. We're going to make another folder for later. I'm going to name this Mary Model Test. Or no, Mary Model V2. Going to be our V2 folder. And then we're going to want to go back into our model file, save as. We're going to find our file here. Then we're going to save it in the first folder. Now you're going to want to remember to name it. I have trouble remembering to name my save files. So we're going to name it Mary Model Tutorial. Save that. Give it a moment to save everything. There it goes. And that is all done. So we are done with the initial setup. In the next video, I'm going to try to go over hierarchy and the deformers and what they're used for. So I hope to see you there. Thank you. Bye-bye. Hi, if you liked my tutorial series so far, if you liked my first video, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing. Comment down below what more you would like to see or if you find this useful. I really do appreciate the engagement and the support. It took a lot to even get to this point, to put myself out there and to want to teach other people how to do the things that I do. So I really do appreciate everything everybody has done for me. I appreciate my friends. You know who you are. Thank you for encouraging me to do this. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye!